It took hundreds of man hours, thousands of dollars, and a whole bunch of yeses for Solana to release a very cringe, tone-deaf ad. But thankfully, it only took crypto Twitter about 30 seconds to be like, no, 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 and then about another 8 hours for them to take it down. But more on that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents. This is the weekly podcast of people actually working in crypto talking about the important things that you need to know in crypto. No FOMO, no shilling, no nonsense. Think of us like your favorite loaf of sourdough bread. We're sturdy, we're delicious, and we'll serve you up something new every week. You want a peanut butter and honey? You want a peanut butter and jelly? You want a tuna sandwich? You want a grilled cheese? We got you. I'm hungry now, but you know who's not hungry? My guests. Today I'm joined by Kale from the Encrypt team.
Hello, what's up?
And Katya from the Mew team.
Yes, and a former recipient of Vince's famous sourdough bread in a dedicated little linen sachet, no less. So.
I know.
Wow,
hopefully
fancy.
that made the move with you, because I like those bags and I want them back. But listen, we'll talk about Solana in a bit because that's kind of the hot button thing in crypto right now. But for now, let's start things off by talking about Robinhood, everyone's favorite brokerage, maybe depending on where you sit on the GameStop fiasco. So they recently were able to finally release event contracts, which are allowing users to buy contracts, and I say this using air quotes, for the March Madness basketball games. Both the men's and the women's basketball games, you're able to buy contracts as to which team will win. So really, betting, right? This is just betting. You wanna take the odds on Florida State or whatever it is. I don't know basketball. I have an arts degree. But talk to me about this overall, because this is, an interesting development, not just for crypto, but for the broader fintech, which the intersection of crypto and fintech is pretty much one circle. Is this kind of an indication of more of the Solana casino, the betting gone mainstream? Talk to me about this, Katya.
Well, I think in the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking more about, I guess what we would call gamification of finance, of investment. Mm-hmm. I think crypto has demonstrated this very vividly with NFTs, with meme coins, with, so aside from more than ever, people are putting their money into things that have no underlying value, like not even pretending to have underlying value. Like we've gone from, I guess, the Middle Ages when gold had value because it was rare, and then investment into things that had some capital value, that had, production, physical assets, etc. And now we are here where it's completely gamified, as shown by crypto, and but it's super popular. People love that shit, clearly. So, and betting is not new. Betting has always been popular with people. So yeah, so. I don't know. I think when people say, "Oh, crypto is gambling," or casinos, sure, but I think you can't really simplify that so much. Like you can't reduce it to being like ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's very tenacious in humanity, over millennia, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna do well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Kale,
the financial nihilism is real. I mean, just put betting on everything. Put betting on Coinbase. Put betting on all the things. But yeah, it's an odd thing to see. But I mean, it's definitely like drills in the point that people are desperate to make money by any means these days.
So you think that that's kind of what this is kind of the desperation for people to escape their capitalist hellscape via just YOLOing $100 on Texas Tech versus blah, blah, blah.
Precisely. That's how I
and
see
escape,
it in my eyes.
I think escape is also a key word here, because historically, everything that's kind of made money and been popular, video games, movies, betting, it is an escape from reality that kind of lets you play a game where you also might benefit from it. So yeah, definitely one of those, escaping, trying to make a quick buck, but also gamification again, like playing a game to distract yourself from the reality that your favorite team will always lose, and you're gonna, and then even if you
so I mean, I probably won't get into this. I'll just stick to the meme coins. This is like a
Yeah.
whole other thing to learn.
What I think is interesting is that with Robinhood, they did partner up with someone to do this, and they typically do have their partnerships for like their cash sweep program and everything, but everything else I feel like they usually make in house. So I'm intrigued that they brought such a highly visible partnership into the app, which I think is kind of interesting because I do think that they are trying to move towards becoming an everything app. And the only time that I've ever experienced anything close to an everything app was Grab when we were in Bangkok, Kale. I don't know if you used it, but I was amazed by like all the different stuff you could do with one app. And I think that this is kind of a step that Robinhood's maybe taking towards that, or maybe they're just trying to make money, because you're right. But at the same time, like I messed around with it yesterday, and I'm like, well, they're not making that much money off this. It was something like less than 2% of whatever quote unquote bet I was making. Oh, I'm sorry, event contract I was going to invest in. Give me a break, man. Well, it'll be interesting to see. You know what else is going to be very interesting to see this week is we're currently recording this on the 19th of March. 2 days from now, the SEC is going to be having a roundtable discussion where they're going to talk about how to define securities. And this is like open, but is limited to like in-person guests.
Allegedly, it's going to be streamed live.
I'm in. Yeah, say more, Katya. Like, talk to me about this. Is this a good thing? Because we all laughed when you said it was going to be live streamed, and so now I'm worried.
Well, I mean, so this is the SEC Crypto Task Force, and it has like its own website now. You can go there and see when the meetings are going to be. I think this one is going to be something like 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Eastern time because it's in Washington. And yeah, allegedly this one is like completely open to the public. Allegedly people can just show up and they're going to be searched. Like, it's going to be security, but you can just go in. It's probably going to fill up quickly, I think. I don't know. You can look at the list of guests. Like, I don't know who anybody is on there except a representative from Andreessen Horowitz, but it's mostly lawyers. The panel, the speakers. But yeah, I think they're going to have a bunch of those. And on that website, on the Crypto Task Force website, you can also submit like feedback. Anybody, like they have a form, you can fill it out and submit feedback from the public. So they're like going for this transparency something vibe, and they're even taking a page from Crypto for Naming thing, because it's like spring rush to clarity or something. Like the name of the thing is very woo-woo, unicorns. So
I have it right here. The spring sprint towards crypto clarity.
There you go.
And its inaugural roundtable, how we got here and how we get out, defining security status.
Very inspirational all around.
Someone on their team is on chain.
Or someone's niece or nephew was like, you need to call it this.
Yeah, somebody went to their kid and they're like, what sounds good? But I feel like it's going to be, the vibe is going to be a lot like the White House Crypto Summit, which is, what do you think?
Big nada.
Nothing burger. How many people are on the task force? Do we know? Are they like the Crypto Power Rangers?
I have no idea off the top of my head, and I don't have it here at hand.
Nor me. I don't know. I know that the panel that they have has like 8 speakers or something, but I don't know about the task force.
Interesting. it's cool to see progress.
Are you going to
So
submit feedback, Kale? Are you going to go and fill out the form and say
I
what you
mean,
have to say about securities?
I might. I'll watch it.
so what is it that we hope to see from this? For me, I hope to see crypto people be on their best behavior and actually having a meaningful conversation. What I'm afraid to see is some pajama onesies, and some like signs that are just like buy Bitcoin. What do you guys hope to see? What are you afraid to see? Like, let's future cast a bit here. So then when we talk next week, we can be like, ooh, Vince was right and Kale was so wrong.
Literally any push towards regulatory clarity. Anything that makes the rules a little more clear, I'm down for that.
So, like, what kind of, say more, like, what does that actually mean to you?
Um, well, I mean, they're like for the past few months, like to a year even, they've just been, I feel like they've been going back and forth with all types of what's allowed and what's not allowed and who's getting in trouble, and actually the case got dropped, and so it's like it feels like it's all over the place. And yeah, I feel like these little roundtables, like each one might not be super important, not like each one might not have like groundbreaking news, but if any little push towards making it more usable just for the average person and easier to access all of that.
Okay, so that's what you want to see. What do you think you're actually going to see?
Just a bunch of boomers who don't know what they're talking about, trying to figure out what terms mean. And yeah, probably nothing burger. It'll probably realistically take them like years to make progress, but yeah, that's that's what I would want to see. But yeah, I'm not
Katia,
expecting anything crazy.
Katia, what are your hopes and fears?
I mean, I think my idealistic expectation is just to see something discussed and then have it happen, right? Like within months, right? Like to hear some, like to the whole point of this whole transparency thing, I assume, is to give a sense of having of the community having agency, right, with the government task force, to be able to contribute and have something happen. So that's just what I want to see, to see a contribution, to see something discussed, and then have something come out of it directly within weeks or months, not, as Kale says, not years. And then, just to see, oh, so okay, it works, right? Like I read somewhere that one of the definitions of burnout is not just being like tired from work or like being like bored or just, but it's like lack of connection between what you do and the effect you see. So it's kind of like your steering is not working, right? Like you're not actually affecting the outcomes that you want to see. So I think this is the most important thing. Like if that's the point, to have the community feel like they can make a contribution and see it have an effect, like that's what has to happen, and it has to happen fast, because if they have these talks and then for years nothing happened, then again it was just bullshit. So and I think you also make a good point, like when you ask it, like what do you actually want to see happen, because from our talk with Brian a couple of podcasts back, like I think because we say we want clarity, but if they come back and say very clearly all stable coins are illegal, here you go, clarity. That's not what we're looking for.
True.
I wanted to ask you guys about that. Like, how do you feel about like government entering crypto in general? Because like now that we're getting things like this, like the crypto task force, I'm seeing more often on Twitter, people expressing the sentiment that like this defeats the purpose. Like the whole point of crypto was to get away from the government, and now we're just like inviting them in to like, hey, please run our stuff for us. Is this good in your opinion? Or
I mean, I do think we need like guide rails at the end of the day, like, because like you said, there are people getting arrested or thrown in prison for stuff that wasn't necessarily clear, like, oh, that was illegal. And I think that kind of clarity is something we need to better understand. I'm not saying they need to come in and be like, and here's the naming convention that you must use for your ERC20. Like, I don't need that. I just kind of want, like, oh, don't go in this pothole, or, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are probably people out there who view crypto very categorically, and they might say that the fact that we have like an SEC crypto task force means we have failed already. Game over. Like crypto has failed to separate itself and to create a separate. I mean, I don't view it that way. I think that any kind of progress in like the way things change is that a radical idea gets integrated into how humanity lives in general, right? If you look at civil rights, women's rights, all kinds like medical things, that like
seatbelts.
Seatbelts. There you go. So like radical ideas just become part of daily life, and then when you look back on it, it's hard to see the moment when something that was radical became normal and improved the lives of millions of people. That's kind of like, I understand that this is also idealistic, but that's kind of how I choose to envision crypto's path, that it won't be broken down and destroyed as an idea, but that it will be incorporated in a way that's still meaningful, but into like the lives of millions of people.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're kind of like, eventually you're not going to know, oh, I'm using crypto, because that's the ideal crypto, right? So now I know we don't talk a lot about price action here, but, talking about the transparency of the SEC task force and the roundtable, that does always highlight like how visible everything is on chain. And so there's been a lot of buzz about the Hyperliquid whale that is now increasing their short position of Bitcoin to over $500 million.
Actually, they sold.
Oh,
I think,
what?
Yes, as of yesterday, they closed that position with a profit, with a 4 million profit, and now they're going long on Melania. As of yesterday, I don't know. That may have changed already.
Okay, well, that you actually like beat me to the punch here. Is like one of the things I think we run the risk of with being so highly visible is manipulation of markets, of stuff like this. Like people can cause FOMO, they can cause bull runs in and of themselves just by how they position themselves, and that's kind of interesting and terrifying at the same time. Because, yeah, you can kind of see some of this when it comes to other financial things. Like we all know that Bill Gates has shorted Tesla, and it's probably printing money for him right now. But I think that's only because he was forced to disclose that. But yeah, so talk to me about these kind of like whales that we see doing this price action. Is this interesting for crypto? Is this bad for crypto? Because for me, I think it's what makes it both interesting and bad, because it is a lot of power in some of the hands of these early adopters that I don't know if there's any way to like, if anyone's going to be able to catch up to them or dilute, the concentration of these assets to a point where they can't necessarily sway markets. Kale, you're more degen than I am. Talk to me about this.
I like it personally, the transparency of it at least. Because the way I look at it, it's like these types of insider trades are happening in traditional markets. They're happening in all types of markets. And most of the time, you're just not informed. You don't get to know. You're not in the secret group chat. So seeing these things happening on chain, I feel like equalizes the playing field a little bit. And it does, like you said, it gives whales the opportunity to kind of market make if they have enough money. But yeah, like I said, I mean, this stuff happens behind closed doors every day without anybody knowing. So I like the transparency-ness of it. I feel like it's overall good. It's this particular story though is just very fascinating to me because the guy, I guess at the peak of his short was like 500 million short or 500
Leverage, yeah.
billion.
Yeah.
No, it was 500 million, not billion.
Million,
That would have been
million, yeah.
crazy. But then yeah, and so then these whales on CT, these OG whales were like, "Oh guys, let's hunt them down. You have any money? Let's liquidate this whale." And Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, jumped in, and they were trying to liquidate this guy, and it didn't happen. But yeah, it was a big thing happening over the weekend, and a bunch of degens were like hopping on, like, "Yeah, guys, community power. Let's liquidate this guy." But yeah.
Which is crazy because if you told me in real life, hey, do you want to spend $20 to like be mean on someone? I'd be like, no, what? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Katya, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it, like what we started with today, I think it's actually bigger than crypto. It's an allegory for the entire market and how it's becoming gamified, like how much of a game it is. And I think less people used to know about how much of a game it is than they do now after things like GameStop and now crypto with the transparency, where, nothing changed about Bitcoin in these 3 days, or the same way like with GameStop, nothing changed about the company in those months that the GameStop saga was happening. But it's just a game. And literally, like, the guy who started trying to get people to, screw this guy over to raise the price of Bitcoin. At the end, yesterday, apparently, I haven't seen the tweets myself, but like when the guy closed his position and was, 4 million in the green, the guy went like, well, good game, like we didn't manage to like upset his position, but good game shorter, so literally it's just a game where these prices are just being moved. And there, in science there's this observer effect where the idea is that just observing an experiment or a situation changes the outcomes of the situation. So like as you said, Vince, just placing a position moves the market when many people are able to know about the position, which I mean, I don't know. I don't like it. Like, I don't like it. Like, I'm one of those people where I'm like, I want to know the thing is a thing and is worth what it's worth. And, so when it's so gamified to such a point where, and it marginalizes just regular investors, regular people who, like, we want to say everybody should have access to the market, everybody should have access to crypto. But unless you have 24 hours a day to spend on playing these games, which admittedly can be truly lucrative, like in real money, but you have to spend your time and efforts and resources on this. And if you're like, so this, like, on one hand, I think it's like kind of paradoxical, because on one hand, it's like Kale says, it makes it more transparent, so it's not behind closed doors. But on the other hand, it makes the market even more a playground for a very niche group of people, and everybody else just gets dragged along through these ridiculous like price changes that happen for no good reason except two people decided to play a game.
You guys are dueling it out.
It's true. I mean, but that's also true with a lot of companies. Like, I mean, what was it? Lamborghini was started because Ferrari wouldn't sell him parts. He's like, well, screw you, I'm going to go start my own company. I think that's the story. Like, it's true across the board. So let's talk about people fighting wars with each other, and let's talk about the Accelerate ad from Solana, the cringe-worthy edgelord culture war ad. And we don't need to talk about the contents of the ad itself. I mean, we're all in communications and marketing. I kind of want to zoom out a bit and first say I cannot believe that this went through ideation, script writing, pre-production, filming, editing, and then getting out in the world, and everyone just said yes all along the way. Dozens of people, literally. and looking at the production value of that, like that was a multi-day shoot to film it, and like they cast actors, they rehearsed, people memorized lines, and I'm just floored that, the third largest crypto basically out there, with kind of the only foundation that is really hands-on, would allow this to happen. And I said this internally to us. I think that if it has more of a broad mainstream, ripple, is going to just set crypto back so much, because it really just kind of positions us as the edge lords of the world. And, if we actually want to onboard the rest of the world into crypto, well, this is kind of the belief structure you have to have. But at the same time, like, gut checking humans that are near me, I'm like, did you hear anything about this? They had not. So I do think the Twitter pitchfork wielders and torchbearers did a good job of shutting it down quickly. But I kind of want to hear your thoughts from a marketing comms perspective. This ad, like, where was their head at? How much did this set us back? Or did you think it's whatever? Like, do what they want?
It's crazy. It sets us back like so much, dude. Like, in my eyes personally, like, Solana's gonna have to do a lot. Like, the Solana Foundation has a lot of work to do to make up for this, as far as like gaining I guess
goodwill.
Goodwill, for lack of words, to earn that back. Because it's like, they're clearly at this point just pandering to whatever the political trend is at the moment. Because after this commercial went out and it got deleted, people went and saw we're like digging through their tweets for the past few years, and found like a bunch of other politically aligned tweets that were aligned
on the other side of the spectrum.
Exactly, yeah. And so it's like, I don't know, it shows that they don't really have a backbone, they don't really have an identity, they're just kind of going for whatever's popular. And like, people call Ethereum communist, but it's like, at least Ethereum people like stand
it's
by.
Consistent.
Yeah, they stand by something.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great point. The best companies are the ones, I think, and foundations and movements are ones that they're like, this is what we believe in, this is what we're sticking to. And even, if it's going to compromise us in the number go up mentality, it's still what we're going to stand by. Katya, what are your thoughts?
I mean,
I cut you off, Kale. You can cut Katya off if you want.
No, I'll go after Katya.
Yeah.
I mean, I was personally angry because this is like, and this is one of my favorite soapboxes. I'm sure I've gotten on it before, even on this podcast already. But I just take personal issue with an approach to marketing or social or comms that some communities in crypto take, that like, you got to be more edged, you got to be more degen, otherwise you're not gonna like get the community. Like, I take issue with the idea that you can't be like a minivan soccer mom, which I'm not, but I'm close, and still be like a very knowledgeable, a very kind of like plugged into the community, crypto community, like understand the developments. Like, you can, like, that's possible, and you don't need to be an edgelord to be legitimate in the crypto space. And I agree, I think, with Kale that, and with you, Vince, that I think maybe the reason we've grown up in the Ethereum community, and we are definitely biased, but still, I feel like it allows for a wider range of people. Like, we have like boomers, like soccer mom and soccer dad boomers in Ethereum, definitely, even among the core builders. And, you also have degens who are, like building. So, and I think that is the core principle of crypto, like the inclusivity, the lowering the barriers, and etc. And when something like that happens, yeah, it upsets me because it makes crypto look shitty to the outside world, which is not the way I've seen it from where I've worked for the past 6 years. And just, it makes marketing look shitty, like,
For sure.
because it's like, because yeah, and no, like some people were like, "Oh, that was the point. They wanted the engagement. They wanted," and I'm just like, that
All
just makes me
marketing is
like,
good marketing.
No.
it's just that makes me very angry, just
Yeah.
like really, really angry.
You know what's another like huge red flag for me is the fact that they literally were pressured by crypto Twitter degens to do what the crypto Twitter degens wanted them to do. You know, so it's like if they can be pressured by Twitter users to do something, like what's gonna happen when state actors start pressuring the Solana Foundation and like, hey, you guys got to do this, you guys got to do that. They're just gonna be like, okay, whatever you say, guys.
Well, I
It's
mean,
true.
arguably, this is already a response to the kind of the cultural tendencies of the current administration that's friendly to crypto. You know, there's the that side to it as well. So arguably, some people are like they're already trying to like kiss ass to whatever the current trend is. Which is, you know, they always say, oh, you know, crypto like communities like authenticity. Like if you're not authentic, then you know, like, well, Jesus, you know, like this is pretty much like you know, this is bottom in terms of inauthenticity.
I agree. I agree with both of you, and I appreciate both of you, because this brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you feel smarter. You should be, because you are. Make sure you follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review. We appreciate it. You'll also find all of our Twitters and our project Twitters in the description below, the notes on Spotify or wherever you listen to this. Give us a shout on Twitter. We like it when people say hi. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Vince.